Welcome to Mountain Stream TV. Today is September 12th, 2025, and I'm Ron Arps. Today we're having another interview in our series called the Community Preservation Forum, where we talk with leaders from nonprofit organizations and government agencies about the programs they have to assist people in our community. Our guest today is Dawn Neatherly, from Circles of Jackson. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
When I was looking over your website, I saw a lot of things that were very interesting to me, and I realized that Circles has a very different approach to helping people who want to get out of poverty. And I'm really looking forward to hearing you explain about what you do in Circles of Jackson.
Well, thank
you.
So
I'm pretty much just going to turn it over to you. You're the one that we want to have speaking to our audience. And first of all, I think you could maybe introduce yourself and what your position is with the organization, and then probably talk a little bit about the mission and get in then some specifics about how the program works. And maybe along the way I'll have a question or two, but it's mostly your show.
Okay, thank you. I'm Dawn Neatherly, and I am a two-time graduate of Western Carolina University and a former summer camper here in Cullowhee. So Jackson County has been near and dear to my heart since I was 10 years old. And when I retired from a career as a mental health therapist, I couldn't think of anywhere else that I wanted to return to. And it was my hope to be able to give something back to Jackson County because it had been such a gift to me as a child and as a student. I am the executive director of Circles of Jackson County, and I have held that position for just shy of 10 years. Our chapter is about 11 years old here in Jackson County. And Circles is a national program, actually international. There are chapters also in Canada. And the beauty of the Circles model is, even though it is a national agency or program, each chapter is allowed to create what they need to make it work in the community that they live in. Nationals provides us with materials, which we are free to adapt. Nationals does all of our data collecting, which is a wonderful thing. You know, if you have ever tried to keep up with all the data to show what you need to do and what you've done and how well it's gone, it's wonderful to have somebody else that does all that collating for us. So that's mainly what we get from our nationals, and support and guidance as we move forward. The Jackson County chapter was actually founded by a wonderful woman named Ann Melton, who is a native of this community, and she had learned about Circles through the program that was going on in the Waynesville area. And she felt that Jackson County was an ideal place for it, so she founded a chapter here. Our chapter initially was under an umbrella organization, and about a year after I came to work here, we decided that we wanted to become an independent 501(c). So we established our own articles and set up our own corporation and got our own federal licensing and became independent. The mission. Jackson County has phenomenal emergency services programs. Our sister agencies deal with unhoused people. They deal with people who have no food resources, clothing, child care, domestic abuse and violence. We have wonderful crisis services. What Circles seeks to do is be the next step. What I like to say is that our clients have their head above water. They're in a very nasty pond that nobody wants to be in, but their head's above water, and as long as nobody throws a big rock in the pond or they lose their footing, they're going to keep their head above water. But they'd like to be up there on the bank where they're not in the nasty pond and they're not always worrying that they're one rock or one slip away from going back under again. So what we try to be is the next step. When people have moved past the crisis point, where they have some form of housing, be it shelter or staying with friends, where they have some idea of income, be it a job or knowing what their rights are as far as government money, and if they have substance abuse issues, they have those under control, then we want them to come to us. And our mission is to create self-sustainability and self-sufficiency in our clients. I feel like I'm just rambling here. I wish you would ask me some questions to give me some guidance.
I think you're doing just fine.
Well, thank you. Circles, what we do is we combine a unique program that involves both education and social capital building. And what that means is when someone comes into us and they say, I would like to learn to take care of myself. I would like to learn how to utilize all the resources that are available to me. I would like to move my family out of the pond. I would like to become sustaining and sufficient. We begin by asking them to complete a 12-week program. Now, we meet every week. We meet every week on Tuesday nights, and we provide a community meal that's free. We'll provide childcare if it's needed. And then we have a program or programs. When someone comes in, we ask them to do this 12-week class that meets once a week after the meal on those Tuesday nights. Mm-hmm. And that class teaches the psychological, sociological, and economic causes of poverty. It talks about how the economics ebb and flow and how you ride that. It teaches communication skills. It teaches basic budgeting skills. It also spends a lot of time talking about prejudice and bias and how our worldview and everyone else's worldview affects how we all function in society. And then it teaches solid goal setting. So when they come out of that 12 weeks, they have chosen a goal, and we call them SMART goals. They are specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're realistic, and they have a time frame.
Those are very significant goals.
Mm-hmm. And it can be very small, or it can be very large. We've had a circle leader. We call them circle leaders because they are leading what happens, but we are encircling them with support.
This is the client,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's a very unusual approach myself, because to call them the leader is not something that organizations usually do. And I think that's great.
Thank you. There has been a strong tendency in social services over the years to, well, our founder calls it bootstraps or benefits. We either provide all the benefits and take care of you, but we're just taking care of you.
Right.
Or the bootstraps concept is that you need to get it together and pull your stuff up by your bootstraps and get your life together. And if you want to change your life, you can do it. We believe the reality is it has to be a mesh of both of them. Mm-hmm. You have to have support, but that support has to include empowering you to realize that it is your life and you are making the choices. Sometimes the world around you can beat you down, but you choose to fight back. You choose to get back up and keep going. So we work really, really hard to show that, and that's why we call them circle leaders. Mm-hmm. And the concept of a circle grows because when they finish the class, we then match them with two people who we call allies. It is a combination of a mentor, an intentional friend, a resource guide. It's just a normal, everyday community person who is self-sustaining in their own life. And these are all volunteers, but they are very well trained. And when they're matched with that circle leader, and that circle leader has that goal in hand, then they jump in. Sometimes they're cheerleaders. Sometimes they're a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes they're a place to find a resource to move forward. We try to match our circle leaders with allies that have some knowledge in the areas that they're in. For example, we had a young woman who wanted to become a nurse, and we matched her. One of her two allies is a practicing physician. So we try to match them with people that know a little bit about what they're trying to do with their goals. Excuse me. Those circle leaders and their allies sign a contract that for 18 months they will meet together either in person or via media once a week to work on the goals, to talk about what's going on, to provide support, to provide a special place that feels comfortable. And they agree to do that for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. It's a long-term solution because change is long-term. So that's kind of a nutshell of what we do. Then once the programming aspect, when we meet every Tuesday, we try to bring in speakers and do programs that speak to the specific interests and needs of our circle leaders. We do, every quarter, we do a survey asking them for what they're interested in or what they want to know more about or what's something you heard about and you want to find out more about. And then we also try to keep our finger on really specific things that are important, like, having somebody in to talk about voting rights when it's getting close to elections, or when Medicaid was originally approved in North Carolina, finally, we brought someone in to talk them through the system of how they were going to apply. But then it's also what they ask for, and it can be, most recently we had Cliff Falls from Rolling Start, another wonderful program that you should look into if you haven't yet, that helps to provide free cars for people who are working and trying to get their lives together. And Cliff came in and did a program for us on how you can do basic car maintenance on a budget and the things that you need to do to keep a vehicle up so that you don't end up having it break down on you and not be able to work. So we do things like that. But then also sometimes we do things that are light and fun because we want our clients to understand that a well-rounded life is a life that also has recreation, that also has social interactions, that also has fun in it. So earlier last month, we had Mr. Baxley from Baxley's Chocolates come and tell them about chocolate making and about how chocolates are produced. He even brought some samples for us. But a lot of times there's an underlying thing there anyway, because Steve also talked about starting a small business and all the things that went through that. So there was information they could use and a little fun. And about once a quarter, we have a play night where we do something. We play bingo, we paint rocks, we made Mardi Gras masks just something fun and silly and relaxed. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the nutshell of what we do.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you have a good deal of education and a lot of fun, too.
We try to.
One thing that I noticed was there was a lot of emphasis on networking. Mm-hmm. And I realized that, people who are pulling themselves up out of poverty probably don't have the kind of networks that know the people that they need to contact about a specific need or a specific question. Or, when my wife and I talk about things, we say, oh, who do we know that we could ask about that? And so can you talk a little bit about how you develop those contacts?
Yeah. That's the next layer of the circle. They come in together in a class and they begin to form a circle of peers, the people that they go through their 12-week class with, because it is closed. You come in together, you go for 12 weeks, you come out together. So a group of circle leaders have formed a circle of friendship there. Then they form a smaller circle with their allies. Then there is the larger circle of our meetings, which is when all of us come together, our volunteers, our allies, our circle leaders, and we build that connection. When you agree to become an ally, what we're asking you to do is to be an intentional friend. So you don't just help your circle leader figure out how food stamps works, if that's a question. You invite your circle leader to go for a walk with your walking group that goes to the park every month or every week. You invite your circle leader to come to a sporting event at the high school where you're pulling for your child. You bring them into a different community of people. And once they're in our meetings, that becomes, the word that our circle leaders use a lot is a new family. Because if you always stay where you've always been, you're not going to get change. And a lot of times, there is a certain depressiveness to poverty that makes people kind of cluster together and almost hide. You know, you stay in this little group of people who are in the same bad situation you're in because you believe no one else is going to understand it, because you believe no one else is going to help you, because you believe that no matter how bad it is, it's all you have. And what Circles tries to show our circle leaders is that it can be better, it can be different, that there are people who want to understand your situation, who want to help you in the ways you want to be helped, not decide for you what it is you need to have done, but help you decide what it is that you want. And we build this network that way. And then kind of the top layer of that is myself and my client services coordinator, Rachel Bird. I say a lot of times that my job is to know everything that's available everywhere in Jackson County for everybody in every form possible so that I can answer the question. It's impossible to do, of course, but we network with all of our sister agencies. I spend a lot of time actually watching newscasts, reading the newspaper, following things on social media, just paying attention so that I have that information in place, because we don't want to leave our allies trapped either. So if you're an ally with one of our circle leaders and they come to you and they want to know about how to find a good mechanic, and you're just not a car person, you know, and you don't have a clue, well, then you can bring that back to me. You could bring that back to the big circle when we meet. We have a sharing time. And a lot of times you'll have circle leaders and their allies that'll be like, hey, we're working on figuring out how to get housing supplements for people who are registered members of the Eastern Band. What would we do about that? You know, and that's something that might not pop up like that. So then it's my job to make that connection, find out who it is that I need to send them to and get them there. Mm-hmm. And it just builds this family sense. If you were to walk into one of our meetings on a Tuesday night, walking in the door, you would have no idea who are the clients, who are the volunteers, who are the allies. We don't even wear these name tags. We just wear name tags with our name. Other than me walking up and saying, hi, welcome, you wouldn't even necessarily know that I'm the one that's the director. We're all very open. We're very welcoming. It becomes just very much a family thing. We celebrate children being born, people getting married. We do old-fashioned poundings. If you have a little background in Appalachian history, you know, it used to be when a couple moved into a new house or a person went out on their own, everybody would bring them a pound of all the things that they need, like sugar and butter and flour. And so we do poundings when they get housing. We celebrate birthdays. We celebrate the lives of people that we've lost. It just becomes very much a family.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a wonderful thing.
It is, and it works. That's the beautiful thing about it. It feels good, it's wonderful, it's socially functional, but the thing is that over the long haul it works. Our statistics show that you have the 12 weeks of the class, then the 18 months that you're in that contract with your ally. And our statistics show that in that time period, we see upwards of a 50% increase in income. By the time they have worked their way through our program, all of our graduates, all the people who've completed that, have safe housing. They have some sort of transportation arrangements made. Most of them have learned how to do savings and have an emergency savings. We help connect with schooling. We help to connect with job changes if that's what they're looking for. So we actually see statistically measurable improvement. But the biggest thing we see is people who have hope again.
What can I say? It sounds perfect.
I wish I could say it was. It's not. The world is very challenging right now.
Definitely.
And we try to be very broad spectrum, and that might be a good point to make here. The people who are involved with our program range in age from 21 to about 85, male, female, non-binary. We have people who fall into all of the LGBTQ scale. We have racial representation that pretty much matches the county percentage-wise. We don't happen to have anyone who's Asian working with us right now, but we have pretty much all the other racial representations. People that are married, people that are single, people that are divorced, people that are widowed or widowers, people with children, people with grown children, people who don't want children. We're just a huge variety, but we come together under the belief that a community raises everyone up. And the world, unfortunately, right now it's not showing a lot of community in a lot of places.
For sure. I could go farther than that and say it's antagonistic toward community, but
It can be. And I have clients, circle leaders, who are genuinely frightened. You know, they're frightened because they are part of those smaller social groups or minorities or whatever label somebody wants to pick out and put on them and be concerned. And there's fear, there's concern with that. We encourage our circle leaders to avail themselves of everything that's out there for them. You know, we want them to use the benefits that the government is providing for them that they qualify for. We want them to visit the services and programs in the county that they're available to. We want them to use the food banks, to go to the programs like United Christian Ministries and the Community Table. You know, what we say to them is that with support and knowledge, you can take care of your family in Jackson County. It can be done. We are that kind of a county. We're that kind of a caring place. But you have to know everything that's out there. So we do encourage them to take advantage of everything that's available to them. But then we also educate them in how you can step beyond it. You know, as you begin to make more money, as you move up the ladder a little bit and benefits change, what are the other options that you have for yourself? So we're not just relying on the government, but what's going on with government-funded programming is a part of our clients' lives. Mm-hmm. And there's some concern.
There is. And do you have any specific things you can talk about as far as that kind of funding and you know, what may be coming up in the future that would affect your program?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is the uncertainty of Medicaid. North Carolina did not provide Medicaid for adults for a very long time, and it has not been, I don't think, even 2 years since they finally agreed to participate in the federal matching program to provide Medicaid for adults. So for many, many years, my clients had little to no access to health care insurance. Now, they did use the Affordable Care Act, but there's still some limits to that. It will take care of you for emergency level things. I mean, you know, if you have the Affordable Care Act plans, you buy the one that you can most afford, you'll at least be covered if you end up in the hospital, you have a car accident. But just day-to-day, regular wellness care is just not in that at this point. Now that Medicaid is available, wellness care is available. Now, I will say, you know, the Jackson County Health Department does not charge anybody for anything, and you can go and get care there. But the wait time and the amount of clients that they're trying to serve with the amount of resources they have is very limited. Now, we do have wonderful programs like Vincino's and Blue Ridge Health that do sliding scale or free services. So there is out there. But it was so lovely when Medicaid came in, because then everyone could function just like those of us who have regular health insurance and whatever. You just go to the doctor and your insurance pays and you pay, you go on with your life. There's a lot of fear that that's going to disappear. That either it's going to cease being matched by the state because there are pockets within the state legislature that never wanted to do it in the first place and really see it as an inappropriate use of state funds. There are places within the federal government, within all the changes of the big beautiful bill, that may cut services. So healthcare and prescription drug support is the first thing that we're really watching and paying attention to. We do provide some services for our clients. I do grant writing to provide for certain things, and we have an emergency fund that we have kept funded for quite a long time that was available when a client would come in and go, you know, I have a copay I can't make on a medicine, or you know, my car broke down and it's going to be more than I can carry right now, and we could help them with that, and we still do that. We recently wrote a grant for transportation, and we wrote into that grant being able to get bus passes, being able to get minutes on the phone, because you can't call for a ride if you don't have a phone. I have made an adjustment on the most recent grant version of our emergency fund where I have clearly written in prescription copays, because it's going to be something that our clients, our circle leaders, are going to need help with. I see a lot of, in our non-traditional circle leaders, people who fall under the LGBTQ spectrum, a lot more depression, a lot more anxiety, a lot more fear that they're not safe in society, that they could easily be attacked or run, you know. It's just a lack of feeling safe in your own community, and that's really challenging, because we can provide that with our sense of family, but we can't do anything about what may happen further out here, so I worry about that. I think the biggest thing that I see right now, and it's not just our agency, it's the nonprofit world. With all of the changing, most nonprofits operate with a significant amount of federal or state money that's granted to them or that they qualify for to provide their programming. It's just always been the standard.
Yes.
And as programming is being cut, as funding is being cut, I see all of my fellow nonprofit management people struggling to do what they've always done with less than they've ever had. And then in our region, you throw in that we're still trying to recover from Helene, which means that you've got to do more with less than you've ever had. The world is getting more challenging. Natural disasters are happening. Economic changes are occurring. And these nonprofit leaders don't have the funds. Their staff is burning out so quickly because you're having to work with more and more issues with less and less to give people besides your heart, your love, your concern. And that's certainly what we're in it for, but it can get hard. So I worry about the people who do the work. You we're kind of blessed at Circles because we're a community-based program. Our volunteers all come from the community. All the things that we do kind of happens there. When we became an independent nonprofit, our board made a decision that in keeping with our mission and the way we do it, that we were not going to take government grants, that we were going to write all of our grants in the local and regional grant making areas, and our fundraising would come from direct requests in our community. We just felt like that matched with our mission of building up community from the ground up.
Yes, definitely.
So financially, we're fine. Well, I won't say we're fine. Nobody's fine. But we were not affected by the federal cuts because we did not have federal money. The downside of that is that all of the independent and private grant-making agencies and people like you and me that donate to local nonprofits now are also receiving requests from all those nonprofits who used to get their money from the federal government. So there's twice as many requests for the same amount of money. And the granting agencies are just running ragged trying to figure out how they can support what's happening. And we all have to make choices on that. Do you add new programming? Do you try to give a cost of living raise to your staff? Do you continue to provide the bus passes that we've paid for years? We do big holiday baskets in the winter that have gas cards and grocery cards and store cards and fun stuff too, Christmas candy, holiday candy. We do a big basket for each of our circle leaders. And it's, are we going to be able to do that again? Or do we need to put that money to something else? I mean, it's challenging.
Well, and then there's pass-through money also, that some of these funding agencies that you apply to for grants get federal money themselves, and that can be at risk also. And it's something that I probably don't know as much about as I should, but I can say that in North Carolina and in Western North Carolina, there are some large grant-making agencies that, especially with the sale of hospitals and all of the private hospitals that were sold, like you get the Dogwood Fund and you get some things like that, or from the sale of Mission Hospital. For the most part, those monies already exist. They received those monies, they have them in the bank, they're building off of them. So we haven't run into as many agencies that we work with that are seeing that pass through. But I know grant-making agencies, but I know my partners, the people here in the county that I work with, the Center for Domestic Peace here, Vincino's, all of those places were getting federal money that they're not sure if they're going to continue to get. So I see it being very possible, if the federal cuts and the lack of funding for nonprofit social-based change and care continues to go downhill, that those of us who have up to this point been working in the next step, we're not an emergency program. We're for somebody who's gotten the emergency out of the way and now they're trying to make long-term change. We may more and more have to start addressing the emergency. And that would be a huge change of direction for us. And I don't see that at this point. I think that we're still very viable in Jackson County. Our sister agencies are still viable. But those of us that are the executive directors here in this county, we're already having the conversations about how are we going to pool our resources if we have to? How are we going to work together? How are we going to create a way to continue to do the things that we know we need to do in this county by supporting each other? I guess I'm kind of shifting gears here
Sure,
a little bit,
that's fine.
but I have
Excuse me.
One question about if somebody wants to become involved as a circle leader, how do they go about doing that? And also, if somebody from the community wants to volunteer, how can they become part of circles?
It's a very good question. And that's where we come back once again to our community concept. We meet at 6 o'clock on Tuesday nights in the Fellowship Hall at First Presbyterian in downtown Silva. And literally what we say is come visit. Come have dinner with us. Come see what we're doing. Come meet our people. Come ask questions. And if you like what you see, keep coming. With circle leaders, we ask them to visit 3 times before we'll start them into a class. The first time, it's just come see what we're doing, eat food with us, enjoy us. The second time they visit, we will match them with somebody who's actively in the program to answer questions and sit with them and kind of give them a little deeper dive. And then if they come back the third time, then we'll sit down and do basic paperwork to get them ready to enroll in the class. And our paperwork is not in any way driven by a financial level. We don't require that you make this much money or make less than that much money, or I don't care. That's not what we're here for. You're here because you feel like you're not self-sustaining and you're not ready to be able to keep going, and you want us to help you get there. So we don't take a lot of financial information. We'll ask you some things so that we can keep statistics on how much better things get for you, but we don't have a level that you have to cut off on. Literally, the only things that we require to join our program is you have to be housed in some way. You have to have some idea of income. You have to be clean and sober for at least 3 months. We'd prefer 6. And you have to be willing to change. And those first 3 are just about you've moved past the emergency phase. You've got the basic needs covered. Now we're ready to move you into long-term change. Once they've filled out all that paperwork, we do background checks. And the only reason we do background checks is because we do have children coming in and out of our programs. It's simply a matter of looking to make sure that there's not some reason that we should be concerned that you're a danger to our people around us. I don't care if you have traffic tickets. We'd have no problem if you are, if you have been involved in being incarcerated at some point. Everybody's got a right to change their lives. Then they go into the 12-week program. So that's all it takes to become a circle leader is you just come visit us 3 times, and then we'll run you through the program. And with the program, this is something that might be interesting for people who are interested in doing it. When you do the 12-week class, the 12-week class comes with incentives. Because one of the things that we want people to understand is when you work hard and you rise up and do what's expected of you or more, there are benefits for it. So during the 12 weeks that you're in class, and it's not a lot of money, but you receive $10 for every night that you come. And then you receive $5 for the homework that you took home with you from the week before, whatever it was you were working on, like working on writing down all of your debts, or there's small homework assignments. So it's $15 a night for 12 weeks. And if you complete the whole 12 weeks, you get the check at the end. And we encourage you to use that check to start your savings account. But it's your money, and you can use it any way you want to. So there is an incentive to completing the program. Then you get matched with your allies. Once you're matched with your allies, then you're eligible for next level programming with us. We have a financial literacy class that goes beyond basic budgeting. It takes 4 classes that does banking, that does investments, that does savings, that does the risks of loans and credit cards, really involved financial stuff. At the end of that 4 sessions of that class, you get a $25 incentive to start your savings account or put in your savings account. And at that point, you become eligible for matched savings. And our matched savings program, as it is funded right now, you put no more, up to $25 a month into savings. You cannot touch it. You cannot use it. You have to show your savings account report to our CFO, who is a bonded financial person, so there's no danger in that. If for 3 months you put in that $25 every month and you don't touch it, then at the end of the 3 months, we'll match it 1-to-1. So you put in 75, you get 75. The next 6 months, in 3-month increments, you still don't touch it. You haven't touched the savings account at all. But if you still keep putting in that 25, at the 6-month mark, we will match it 2-to-1. So it's 150 for 75 that you saved. At the 9-month mark, we'll also match it 2-to-1. And if you complete an entire year putting $25 in every month and never touch it, that final quarter, we will match it 3-to-1. And the goal of that is in a year, you will have a 4-figure emergency savings account. You know, that was our goal with it, that we could get you to a 4-figure emergency savings account. So that's another benefit of being a circle leader. As far as being a volunteer, it's still the same answer. Come see us. That's all we ask you to do. We want you to see what we do and see how it feels to be a part of Circle. So you come and eat with us and enjoy whatever activity it is we're doing. And then we will try, you know, if you're like, well, I'd like to help, we'll tell you, we have a little volunteer packet, a book that's getting ready to be in its 2nd edition, so it's not quite ready to go out yet, that talks about the ways that you can volunteer. There's simple volunteering. You can volunteer to come on a Tuesday night and set the room up and serve food, clean up the dishes, and take the room down. It's 2.5 hours once a week, and you're out of there. Mm-hmm. You can volunteer to serve on our fundraising team and help us design fundraising packages, put on programming, do all of that. And that is a once-a-month virtual meeting, and you don't have to do anything else. You come to that meeting, and then you have the activities, obviously. You can be a part of our recruitment team, where you're helping to find other allies and other circle leaders and keep the community involved, where you might be doing things like what I'm doing right now. You might be doing an outreach program for someone. You might be speaking at a church or at the Ruritan Club or the Rotary Club. You might be delivering new posters to all of the agencies around town. And that one is, once again, it's a once-a-month meeting, but then there's also a fair amount of foot traffic with it and being available to go out and speak. You could decide to be an ally. If you want to be an ally, which we have done the statistics, and it takes an average of about 2 hours a week out of your life to be an ally. An hour to communicate with your circle leader and see what's going on, maybe have lunch, go for a walk, maybe another hour to do a little digging for something that they want your help with. 2 hours a week. And then if you come to the meetings every week, that's another, so it might be 5 hours total if you include sitting in Tuesday night's meetings. But as far as outside, 2 hours a week is the average. Mm-hmm. If you're interested in doing that, we will run you through a training. We have a online training that our nationals provides that gives you a lot more of the broad understandings of poverty and the statistical approaches and just a general idea of how it happens. And then you have 2 more training sessions that I do that are very specific to our county, to our region, to our particular program and how we do it. And you come out with a notebook of resources and phone numbers and content. And then when a class of circle leaders has finished training, we do a matching situation to match them up with the allies. And we match. Rachel and I try to be involved to some extent in what we see of the bigger picture. You know, we watch personalities, we look at areas of interest, and we have some ideas on what we think would be good matches. But then when we have matching night, everybody they do an activity together as a big group, and then they do kind of speed dating, where every circle leader gets to talk to every possible ally. And at the end, we ask the circle leaders to tell us anyone that they just weren't comfortable with, and this is all confidential, nobody sees it, anyone they weren't comfortable with, anyone they were particularly thrilled with, and if there's anything in specific that they want to request for their ally to have. And we ask the allies to do the same thing, except what would they like their circle leader to have. So we take all of the papers and we shuffle and we move. And if somebody says they're not comfortable with somebody, it doesn't matter if I thought it was a perfect match. That won't happen. But they don't always get the people that they really, really loved. Sometimes they get one of them and the second person isn't who they thought they were going to get. But we try to make it work in whatever form works for it. And so if you wanted to be an ally, the biggest fear we have in people is that being an ally, they think that you have to do what I said I do. Know everything about everything, everywhere, all the time, which even I don't do very well. Because nobody can. But to be an ally, you have to be willing to be an intentional friend who's open-minded and who wants to walk with someone while they change their life. You don't have to have the answers. You just have to be willing to go looking for them if your circle leader can't find them. It's not a matter of knowing everything. And there's also, I think, a fear that you're going to get yourself into some crisis-based emergency sorts of situations. But you have to remember, our clients are on the second step. They've done the emergency space, and now they have some sort of balance. Their head's above water. They just want to move forward from then. So you don't get middle of the night phone ringing kinds of crises. I won't say it never happens, but it's not like it's the common occurrence for what happens with our circle leaders and their allies. The much more common occurrence is, to pick up the circle leader picks up the phone and says, "Hey, Joe, my doctor just added another medicine and my copay on drugs just went up another $25 and I don't have it this month. What do I need to do?" And then the ally will help them get in touch with me to get into the emergency fund. Or the closest thing to emergencies are more household things like, "Hey, Joe, my refrigerator quit." And then Joe is like, "Okay, well, I know that we have this repairman who's worked with a lot of our Circles clients, so let's get you in touch with them." In the almost 10 years that I have done this, there has been one truly crisis with one of our clients who had a relationship fall apart on them, and they became very, very depressed, and they were considering harming themselves. And they called their ally, and the ally called me immediately, and I said, "I got this." I'm the one with 30 years as a mental health therapist. Rachel, my client services coordinator, is the one with the social work degree. We'll deal with the heavy duties if it happens. But in almost 10 years, one. I think that's pretty good.
Yep, I'd say so. Do I have anything else on my list? I was going to ask you about the cliff effect.
Oh, yes. I was trying to figure out how I was going to get that in there without just babbling, because that's so important and people need to know about that.
So some people may not know what that is, so will you explain what the cliff effect is? And then it seems like you have come up with some solutions for how to deal with that.
We try. We do try. The social services and assistance in America today is all income-based. Each thing, like your SNAP, your food stamps benefits, HUD, which is your housing assistance, Medicaid, all of those things are based on what your income is. And they all have different standards. It's not one uniform standard that if you're above this or below this, you get this or you don't get this. They all have sliding scale standards where if you make this much money, you get this much help, but if you make this much money, you get this much less help. There's all these standards for all of that, and they change all over the place. And those standards come from a national level. So they are based on national data. Now, we all know that it costs a lot less to live here than it does in New York City. So the data that they use, they decided, well, we won't use cost of living. We'll and narrow it out so that we're not giving too much here or too little there or whatever. So they basically look at very broad numbers to set what that requirement is. Okay, so that's the first part. You have to realize they don't do it to your space. You know, the amount isn't based on what it actually costs to live in Jackson County today. It's based on some large national number that was crunched from statistics that are anywhere from 2 to 5 years old. So that's the first step. Now, whenever you make more money, you lose your benefits. Do you know what the minimum wage is in North Carolina? $7 and something.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what a living wage is? Have you heard that?
Probably more like 20.
A living wage is the ability to have safe housing, reliable transportation, reliable health care, healthy and enough food, some small amount of entertainment money, and a little bit of savings. It's what we consider normal life. For a single person in Jackson County right now, it's just a little bit over $20 an hour to have a living wage. The minimum wage is $7 an hour. The average wage is anywhere from 12 to 15. So we're not paying people enough to live. If I'm working, and I work really hard, and I get a raise, if I'm getting help from the government, I have to look and see how much does that raise change what I'm getting. So it's possible that you could get a great raise that would cost you all of your benefits or a limited number of your benefits. It would make them go down, they would be less, or they would disappear at all. So we call it the cliff effect because you're climbing up that mountain, improving your life, and you reach a certain point, and all you have is a cliff that you're going to fall off of because there's a gap there, and the government subsidies don't meet the gap. And our annual wages don't meet the gap. Nothing meets the gap. So you either stop, try to jump over it and pray, fall off. And this is where that belief that people have that people want to stay on welfare. You know, if you wanted to get off welfare, you could do it. If you really worked hard, you could do it. Well, the truth is, financially, mathematically, no, you can't. There is a gap between what you get for help and when you get to where you can do it on your own. And that's the cliff effect. So what we try to do is show our circle leaders how you can build your own bridge over that gap. And what we do is we keep an awareness all the time of ways that you can get that help other places. Like, you can feed your family in Jackson County even if you have no SNAP benefits, because we have food banks, we have free meals like the community table, like us, churches, we have United Christian Ministries, we have the Western North Carolina Farm to Table that provides fresh produce for people that can't afford it. You can get food, but you have to know where, and you have to know who to ask and how to ask, and are there standards or aren't there standards for those places. And it becomes a plan that you have to build. Like, you can only go to this place once every 2 weeks, but this place you can go to once a week, or you've got this place that's going to feed hot meals 3 nights a week, so then what are you going to do on the other nights of the week? And you know, like in Jackson County, we now feed our children free. The school system has free breakfast and lunch for all of our kids, so you only have to worry about dinner. You know, you have to know all those things and build a plan. You lose your housing benefits. There are private landlords in Jackson County who do sliding scale even though they're not getting reimbursed through HUD money. But you have to know who they are, and you have to get onto their waiting lists, and you have to find out what that requirements are. There are also agencies that will support you in that will help you to find money to balance a little bit more of your rent payment in order to build that up. There are clinics, free clinics, and limit, you know, so you can do all of this, but you've got to have somebody guiding you through it. And that's what we try to do. We try to build those plans that guide people through it. Because the idea is, if you worked hard and you got that raise, if you can survive for a year or two building your bridge, then you're highly likely to get another raise. Because if you worked hard, did well, and your company recognizes who you are and how good you are, and you keep doing those things, statistically, you're going to keep getting raises. And eventually you'll get to the point where you're on the other side of the cliff. But we help you get there.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you've thought a lot about this, and I admire you for that. It's a
Thank
very
you.
systematic approach, and
It is, and it does largely come, if you look at the website for our national organization, which is Circles USA, you can see the history and the story of this. You know, our founder just really believed that instead of arguing with each other about benefits versus bootstraps, that maybe we ought to all come together and look at the old-fashioned community concept of raising each other up and working together. And that's sort of where he built this from. And that the social capital is a true statement. It really does matter who you know, because who you know is how you find what can get you help.
mm-hmm.
And what we found, which is a bright light in the face of all of the things that are happening in our country right now, what I have found in the years that I've been doing this is that when I explain how we combine some emergency-based assistance, incentives that are financial, and the social skills and learning part of it, that people from both sides of the aisle are interested in what we do. People who are very, very conservative and people who are very, very liberal can both see value in how we put things together. So I find that Circles is welcome across the table. You know, I no matter what people believe in their personal values about big government, small government, whatever, we can bring them a way that creates dignity, that builds stability, that makes a long-term change that works. Thank you.
Can you think of anything else you'd like to talk about?
I think that the big thing that I would say to anyone that's watching this is, while we would love to have you, and if what we're doing feels good to you and you would like to volunteer, or if you have an interest in donating money or whatever, our website is circlesofjacksoncounty.com, and you can go to the website and see that. But what I would strongly encourage you to do is to realize here in Appalachia, we have always been about community. We have always been a culture that rises up in time of need to support each other and be a part of each other's lives. We are a place where we take care of each other. And no matter who you get involved with, no matter where you go, in this time of crisis and fear and need, please reach out and be a part of the community in some way, whatever that way may be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I've talked with probably 10 different leaders of various organizations now, and every time I'm just very impressed by the passion that they express, and you certainly have that passion also.
Thank you.
For the work that you're doing and the people that you're assisting.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that very, very much. And I appreciate what you're doing. And the more information we get out, the more people know. We'll take care of our own. You know, that's what we're going to have to do, maybe. I don't know. But I feel good about what we're doing. I feel good about what our sister agencies are doing. I feel good about what people in the media like you are doing to make sure that as much information as possible gets out to as many people as possible. I think we're at the grassroots level at this point, and that's where we're going to have to work from.
Yep. Let's do it.
All right. We're ready to go.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.